Good day, my loves. Good day, good day. How are you guys doing? I hope you are doing well. Welcome to my first live. Sitting here drinking my breakfast. I'm actually really hungry, but anywho, I'm sitting outside in nature. You can hear the birds. There's a rainbow halo above my head. The clouds are popping, and I am feeling tremendously blessed. So, I would have probably re recorded this or pre recorded this video, but I have no phone service. So, that's why I'm going live on my laptop, right? And this is just really, this live and this message is just really for me to finally close the door. I wrote notes, y'all, because I don't want to get lost. And I know I get long winded sometimes when I start channeling, right? But this live is to finally close the door on my past and to recall back all of my energy from disloyal people, from unsupportive people, and just from people in general that didn't have my best interest at heart, right? I don't know how long this is going to be because my story is pretty long. You're talking 20 years, y'all. 20 years of black magic, okay? So where do I begin? Well, first. This is definitely a cautionary tale, but it's a triumphant one. And I say cautionary because no matter what others have done to me, I played an intricate part in it. And I'll explain in a little bit more detail in a minute. But first, my name is Danielle. I go by Danny. And I'm fairly new to YouTube. I think I posted my first video on YouTube 7 months ago. And 7 months ago, if you go back and look at my videos, I was like in distraught, especially the one where I was like, don't eat the meat. That was the first time, like, I was like, okay, God, okay. But my spiritual awakening is is a very, very powerful one. Okay. But first, let me thank the Most High. I have to. I know I sound like I'm winning an award and I'm doing my award acceptance speech, but I have to. I have to. I absolutely have to thank the Most High for leading me to this path. But I also must thank my honorable ancestors. Ashe. I must. Because it was when I called on them that the dam broke, that the spells started to break. The Most High gives us this life, but our ancestors help guide us. And without your ancestral history, we are literally lost. Literally lost. Think about the Atlantic slave trade. Why, of all people, did they separate us from our homeland and from our own religion? That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But I must thank my honorable ancestors, for I am a walking manifestation of their dreams and goals and aspirations. I was the one that they chose to break generational curses. I was the one that they chose to handle hardship in order to bring forth a new life for myself and for the generations to come after me, for my legacy. Okay? So, where do I begin? Where do I begin? So, let me just tell you, I've been on this journey for the past like 3 years, right? And for the past 2 years, um, or for the past year, I'll say, I've been doing it solo dolo. I did start out with someone, and it was like it to me because we when when things started to happen, it was like, oh, okay, you always want someone to have that journey with. Well, I always did. I always believed in loyalty. And wherever I went, I would bring the people with me. But if you know the story in the Bible about Lot, everybody can't go with you. And I had to learn that lesson the hard way through trials and tribulations and all kinds of stuff, y'all. Okay. Okay. So, where do I begin? I don't need to begin in my childhood because if you've watched any of my 100 or so videos, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. I welcome all questions. I welcome all comments, differences of opinions. This is an open forum. This is an open board. So anything that I say, if you have any questions about, please feel free to ask. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment because again, this is a give and take. I want reciprocity on this channel. I feed you, you feed me. I teach you, you teach me. I am always going to be a student, but I am in some aspects a teacher. And I hope in this instance, you learn something from my story. You learn. If above all else, you don't learn anything else, you learn to put yourself first. Okay. So if you watched any of my other videos, you'll realize that I've had a long-standing issue with my family. Literally, they were my 10 of swords that I carried on my back. I had burdens upon burdens upon burdens that I carried willingly because I thought, again, listen to what I'm saying. I thought, not that I felt, I thought that that was what I was supposed to do because that's how I was groomed, that's how I was conditioned. A little background. I grew up heavy in the church, especially when I lived in New York. We went to a family church. My grandma went, my aunts, uncles, everybody in the neighborhood went. And I'm from a small town in New York, Yonkers, yo, yo. Okay, where the greats come from. Don't get me started. But so I was groomed that way. And this is no fault. This is not placing blame on anybody because I've already gone through those motions. Okay. This is just me explaining to you a little bit of the background before I get to the meat. Okay. I'm giving you the bread right now. And so I was groomed to take on these burdens because of how I was raised. I was the scapegoat. My mom and them were narcissists. And of course, I was the scapegoat of the family. I have other siblings, but everything was placed on me. So as I grew up at 13, I took on the responsibility of my niece, not by choice, but by force, because whatever reason my mom didn't feel the woman who had the child should have to get up with their child throughout the night, should have to clean their bottles, should have to change their diaper, all that. I was 13 years old. And I remember having a conversation with my mom about this, and she was like, "You wanted to." No, the hell I didn't. What 13-year-old, wants to take care of a child when they want to go outside and rip and run and not push a stroller? Anywho, I digress. That's just the background. So as I grew up, and my brother and sister continued to have children, I felt and I thought it was my duty. But by then, understand, understand, overstand that I had already been indoctrinated, okay, by Christianity. My baby is coming. Look. Hey. Hey, baby. Why are you standing behind me? Hey, come here. Come here, baby. Everybody, this is my baby. This is Per Lucky. His name is Per Lucky Bailey. Right, babes? He's a tuxedo cat. He's very smart. He is a warrior cat. His story is just a harrowing story. I mean, we're warriors in this clan, right? I don't know if he wants to go in the house. Let me see what he's going to do. Okay, he's going to sit still. Okay. So, and then again, okay, so went to church. It was indoctrinated there. Raised by a narcissistic mother and a narcissistic father, stepfather. That's a whole nother story. I had a dream about that, which allowed me to understand, understand, overstand that I was dealing with the Hitler principality. That dream was very crazy, but it was very telling. I've had dreams my whole life. I'll get into that. Okay, let me stay on task. Let me stay on task. Okay, so groomed that way. Grew up in a religious family. My grandma sat at the corner in her same spot in the church. Now, when I moved to Atlanta, I was 13 years old, and the narcissism continued here because that's when my sister had the baby, and I was forced literally to take care of her, clean up after her, wake up with her, take her out, etc. Which I didn't have a problem with. I just didn't want to do it all the time, but I did do it all the time. And it continued, y'all. It continued. I have taken care of all of my sister's four children and my brother's first three children. He has two sets of children. The first three I took care of. Literally, they lived with me. I bought stuff. I took them on vacations, all the stuff, thinking that whenever the time came for me to need help or whatever the case may be, that they would do the same for me. That was a negative. Okay. No need to go in depths about that because that's not really what this story is about. This story is reclaiming my energy from those who knew who I was and those who tried to manipulate my energy and my mind. Okay. But I was groomed, and that's why I'm telling you this. I was groomed for that. But I also made one decision that changed the direction of my life. Okay. So at 25, I was in college. I bought my first house. And I thought the people in my family were very proud, but they weren't. They weren't proud. They were envious, jealous, and a little bit mad even, which all that didn't come out until years later when I was down on my luck. I didn't get down on my luck until like recently and I needed help. And I got, well, you didn't ask for help when you bought your house and said all kinds of crazy stuff, things you would never say. And this came from a parent, things you would never say to your child. But again, that was manipulating my energy and trying to make me feel as if I was the one in the wrong. Mercury retrograde. So y'all gotta bear with me because I'm gonna get this out because I'm done with the past. There are no open doors to the past. None at whatsoever. Especially for anyone who has done me wrong, left me hanging, and nor just tried to manipulate me in any way. Because I'm a genuine person. I have lived from my heart space my entire life, not knowing that there was a flip side to doing that. Okay. So fast forward to when I made a bad decision. And this is where this is a cautionary tale for you guys. I went against who I was. I went against who I knew myself to be just by one decision. And I'm going to tell you what that decision is because hopefully you won't make the same decision. You won't make the same choice. Because up until then, I had lived righteously. I did. I lived throughout my heart space. I lived on intuition, which I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing. I was divinely guided and divinely protected my whole life, my entire life, and still have been. Now I know to the extent of my protectedness. Okay. So at 25, almost 25, I started to experience a or a quarter life crisis. Everybody around me thought I was going crazy, but it makes sense because what I've learned throughout my journey is that on this spiritual path, at the age of 33, it's a significant time in spirituality. You guys have to look it up yourself, okay? Um, because that's not what this is about. I can go into details about that later, but and so you start experiencing things and sensing things. And I made a critical decision because of how I was feeling momentarily. And I didn't date too much. I'm what you call a late bloomer to a certain extent. But the one thing I've always done is I've always lived in my truth. I've always been honest, I've always been authentic, and I've always been loyal. Those three things: honest, authentic, and loyal. Okay. Loyal to a fault. And it is a fault. When you start self sacrificing yourself in the name of loyalty to people who are not loyal to you, that is to a fault. But at this time, I had just broken up with a guy I had been dating for like 2 or so years. And we had talked about marriage and children. And my whole entire life, I wanted children. I did. I wanted 5 children. That's what I would say when I was like 17 years old. I wanted 5 children. If I'd have known about spirituality, I would have recognized the shift in my dialogue, recognized the shift in my behavior, but I was disconnected because I didn't grow up knowing about spirituality. In the church, they don't teach about spirituality. That's, to me, my personal experience and my personal beliefs is that that was intentionally done in the Bible with the patriarchal religions. Okay. And I'm sitting under the beautiful sun, but it don't stop me from sweating, y'all. Woo, 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 woo. So I made a conscious decision. I went against who I was because I was tired. I did. And the moment you decide you know better than God, He will turn you over to yourself. What does that mean? Your intuition will be gone. Your mind will be reprobate, and it's like you're disconnected from source, right? But in my instance, I don't think I was disconnected from source, but I think I allowed the devil in by making that choice to go against who I was. And by me going against who I was, I made the decision to date a guy that I normally would not date for reasons I normally would not dictate. I can be honest. I dated a guy. I was in college. I had my house and I was ready to get out of school. So I'm going to say this was about me being like 29 or so. I bought my house when I was 25 and I was still in my house. And so there was a guy that I knew of. I met through a mutual homegirl. I used to say best friend, but she wound up turning on me. So you know how that goes. Um, and I knew who he was. I knew about him. I knew the rumors. I knew through my homegirl because she used to date his friend back when we were like teenagers or so, before I moved to Chicago and came back. Mind you, I have tried to get her. Let me just, this is an insert side note. I have moved away and came back at least 3 times in my life. And that was due to black magic. But the next time that I leave, there will be no coming back. There's no need for me to come back. Right. But anyway, I digress. So I made the choice to reach out to this dude. I knew of a mutual friend because my homegirl, of course, didn't have contact with him because she no longer dated the guy. So, but I knew a mutual friend, and I said, and I put a filler out there. I said, "Hey, I'm looking for so and so. Let him know I'm looking for him." Right? His name was Sean. There's a lot of Seans in the world, so and I knew what he was about. He was about that street life, you know. He sold marijuana. Yeah, he did. I know he didn't sell crack or anything like that because he had already did time. But the reason why I sought him out was because I knew first he would pay the bills. I knew that for a fact. And I could quit working and go to school full time. And I remember telling my homegirl and her mom that I was going to seek him. And they both cautioned me for their own reasons. They both cautioned me against that. But I was sick and tired of doing the right thing, literally. The relationship had just ended, and I loved this man, but it didn't work out. Not because he was cheating, I didn't have that issue. Not because he was abusive, I didn't have that issue. But he wasn't connected emotionally, and I needed that. Okay. So after I broke up with him, I decided to just date this guy and be with him. And at that moment, my life changed. Okay. That's just a introductory into what happened. Okay. So let me fast forward to the meet when all hell broke loose. That just gave you a background as to what went down, right? So there was a guy that I dated, that I met when I was 25. This is where black magic comes in. I didn't know at the time, but there was this guy named Michael Thomas. There's so many Michael Thomases that I met when I was 25 years old. I was dating Frank, but I was drawn to Michael for some reason, and I can't explain why. I couldn't explain why. It wasn't like I was trying to cheat on Frank. I didn't. Infidelity was not part of my makeup. I would leave you first. I would break up with you before I cheated on you. But we were drawn, and I was introduced from a friend of his, and she liked him. Anywho, fast forward to 3 years ago. Throughout the course of my life, I met Mike when I was 25. When I broke up with Frank, Michael and I tried to date, but he kept ghosting me throughout this entire time. And what I know now ghosting is energy harvesting in the spiritual world. I didn't know that's what it was. I just, because I was so naive and so trusting, that I just thought, oh, if I loved him or if I was more understanding, then things would work out, not knowing that he was manipulating me and my energy. But so the first time he ghosted me, we had spent the night together. Mind you, we went out on a date. He wined and dined me. He what I call love bombed me. He did. Our first date, he took me to oh, it was just on the tip of my tongue. He took me to, it'll come to me, but it was up in the mountains, and it was a beautiful place, beautiful place. But then the next day, we were supposed to hook up, and he never called back. And this happened continuously up until, understand what I'm about to tell you. I'm 46 now. I met him when I was 25. I think the first time I was intimate with him, I was like 30 something. We had tried to date on and off throughout that time, but it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. So fast forward to about 30 something. And I wound up calling him, telling him that I wanted to be with him, not knowing that he was doing black magic and black magic was being done, which is why I initiated the call. But then after that, he ghosted me. And I didn't talk to him for 3 years. Then somehow or another, we got back together, and he ghosted me again. Mind you, I'm dating other people or whatever. He has a baby mama, and he was like, he wasn't planning on ever leaving that until, he was never ever leaving it. And one of the things that I realized, give me a second, y'all. What are you doing? Huh? Girl, go in the room. I mean, go in the house. Go ahead. This girl don't never play with my cat. Never plays with my cat. Literally. Ever. Don't pick him up, don't pet him, don't feed him, don't want to deal with him. But all of a sudden she want to come outside and pet my cat. Okay. Anywho. Sorry for the interruption. Um, so fast forward to when got on this journey. It actually started when I moved to Texas. And one of my bosses gave me a crystal. I didn't know at the time it was a crystal. And so fast forward to me moving back to Atlanta into my sister's house where I'm currently at now. And all hell started to break loose in and around me. It seemed as if every time I got a leg up, meaning I achieved something, something came around to try and snatch it. I bought my house, something happened. I got a job, something happened. I literally have had chronic homelessness and chronic unemployment throughout my entire life. After understand, overstand the age of 30. Up until the age of 30, everything was great. But I made one decision and God was like, okay. And the devil kept coming in and out of my life, running to and fro on this earth in my life. But I knew troubles didn't last always. So, Michael, all hell broke loose. So, during this time, I thought the person I was loyal to was a friend of mine. I thought she was a friend. And when I consider you a friend, that means I am very loyal to you. I am authentic and I am loving and I am caring and I am empathetic to your needs, your desires, and all that stuff. But what I didn't realize was that this friend was an undercover narcissist as well. And I kind of halfway believe that maybe she didn't know, but that could be, the happy go lucky side of me that I always see the good in people. But I know at a certain time she did know and she tried to manipulate it. So before I get to that part, because that's when, like, by this time, everybody in my life had shown themselves. My sister, my brothers, my cousins, my mama, my papa. I have had individual conversations with everybody about why they did this, why they said that, why they didn't help, blah, 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 blah. And the answers that I got back was just bull crap. It was just BS. It was BS, BS, BS. Because no one could say, oh, you did this to me. Oh, you did that to me. Oh, I didn't. No one. So I knew where it was coming from at this time. So I just took you from the time that I was 25 to 30. By the time I was 30 something, God turned me over to myself. And all hell broke loose in my life, literally. I've been calling on God and Jesus my entire life. Jesus and I have a very special relationship. I think I told a story about when I was 5 about that and about the dreams that I've had. But let's get to the nook and cranny about this spiritual journey and my awakening. So, the homegirl that I considered a friend and a sister, and I actually said that we were twins. We were twins because we were so much alike. We just grew up a little different. That's how I looked at it. We were so much alike that we just grew up different. What I did not understand or even overstand, let alone understand, was that she was literally my twin flame. And I didn't recognize or didn't even know that your twin flame can be the same sex. I didn't know that. So if you guys know anything different, please let me know. If I am misspeaking, please let me know. But this is what my journey has brought me to understand, literally understand, is that your twin flame can be of the same sex. Does not mean that you're supposed to have an intimate relationship with them. It just means that there are some things that you guys need to learn together and that learn from each other, and that possibly there can be a relationship, a friendship that can come of it. So let me say before I continue that me telling my story is to liberate me. It is not to hurt, harm, or injure anyone. It's not meant to make them feel a certain kind of way, but this is my truth. This is my truth. And so this was a girl, this was a woman that I respected, that I was loyal to, that I didn't question. I didn't question. I didn't question her life choices. I didn't question anything she did, okay? Until God showed me who she was. But before he showed me who she was, I had to go through all these other people, the ones that I named, all my friends, literally all my friends, all of the ones that I call friends. And they knew once I found out that I would stop dealing with them. Bam, that's confirmation. They knew it because what I did not tolerate is disrespect and disloyalty to me. But there were some that kept it under wraps for a long time. Okay. But I do know that the devil works through us. He worked through me too in some instances. I'm not absolved of that. We have both energies that reside in us, right? So I've done some things that I weren't proud of, but I made amends. I did because it couldn't sit right in me. If someone said that I hurt them and I knew I hurt them, or if I did something that was egregious or wrong, I had to make amends for that. So fast forward to 3 years ago, and I know my journey started a while ago because people started falling to the wayside, but this is when it was like broke all the way open. It was broken open. It was broken open because I watched God work in someone else's life. I watched God work in Lakita's life. That is my homegirl. Well, that was my homegirl. And when I say was, it doesn't mean that I no longer love her. I still love everybody. I still love my mom. I still love my father. I still love my siblings. I still love my cousins. But I have come to understand that spiritually we are unevenly yoked. I didn't know what that meant when people say, oh, you got to be evenly yoked. I thought that, as a lot of you may think, that it has something to do with, oh, they like this, I like that. That is the 3D explanation of things. I was not in tune with my higher self. And you'll see why. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. So, and this is not to put anybody business out there at all, but my baby girl, she's still my baby girl. I still call her that, no matter what her mother and I's relationship is like. She had an aneurysm. And The moment she did, I knew God would save her. And I spoke those words into existence because this little girl was special. I had known her since she was about like 11 or 12. And she was like 18 or so now, right? 17, 18, something like that. And her passing out and dying for like 30 or so minutes shook me to my core. It shook me. It shook me. It shook me. But I watched the vitality. I watched every day. Every day I spoke, and I spoke life into her mother. I spoke it. God is not taking her. Not at all. Every day I watched her increase. I watched, she was on a ventilator and everything. Every day I was at that hospital with my homegirl. Every day. Every day I went and I spoke life. And I watched her come back to life. I watched it. But as with all my friends, because me and my mother's relationship wasn't as close as I wanted, I've always been close to my friends' mothers. And I spoke life. I spoke life. And so I watched my friend's mother say, and I heard her with my own mouth, with my own ears, say that she would give her life in order to save her granddaughters, right? And that literally happened. It literally happened. Within 2 months, Tori was walking again. She had to learn to do everything over. We helped her walk again. She had to wear a harness and all kinds of stuff. But within 2 months of her getting well and getting out of the hospital and having to go to therapy, my homegirl's mother passed away. Got sick, got better, and then passed away. When she got sick, I couldn't see her like that, so I didn't come up to the hospital. I came to the hospital when she was well, but when she got sick, I didn't go to the hospital. But I also explained to my homegirl why I could not do so. Okay. I watched it happen. And so I was there for my homegirl because I felt like that's a lot for one person to handle. And so I did what a friend was supposed to do, or what you're supposed to do when you're a friend. You encourage, you support, you pour into them, you feed them, you nurture them, you console them, you just be there. And I was. I was. So fast forward to a day in time when Michael had come back into my life. This is all going to tie in, y'all. This is all going to tie in. Just bear with me. Throughout all this time going, Michael had come back into my life. Jedi mind tricked me again, but it was black magic. And I know it was black magic because the sex wasn't all that great. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. It really, really wasn't. It really wasn't. And I had succumbed again and believed the lies. He wanted to move, he wanted to have a baby. And so I gave in. Okay. And then all hell broke loose in my life. A year later, I'm on this journey, and my homegirl, because she had had such a tragedy happen to her, tragic moments happen, she had started her spiritual journey, and she started sending me YouTube videos. She started sending me positive songs, and I was in that space, but I wasn't quite in that space. So some of the things I watched and some of the things I didn't, and she would always send them to me. At this point, we're on this journey together, literally. I didn't sense any negativity. I didn't sense no jealousy. I didn't sense no envy. I didn't sense anything because we were literally just in a space where we were sharing information and sharing knowledge and all that stuff. So, a year after I slept with Michael and he ghosted me again, I'm on this journey and I'm watching videos myself. And I'm going back to my homegirl. Remember you said about this video and what? And so she's like, remember I sent them to you? So, I'm going back through my phone and I'm like, okay, well, let's get it popping. And I started watching tarot. Shout out to the tarot land world. That was down here on my introductions and and the people I give thanks to. Tarot and YouTube. When I tell y'all, you guys hold a very special place in my heart. Tarotland, 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 Tarotland. YouTube as a whole, though, because it wasn't just tarot that I was watching. I was watching all kinds of YouTube videos. So, as I was nursing my broken heart again from the fuckery of Michael Thomas and learning myself and learning about spirituality, and mind you, this literally was, we were on this journey together because it was like, okay, I was driving Lyft at the time, and one of my drivers led me to um, uh, the name is escaping me, Dragon, Phoenix and Dragon. And she was like, I'm going in here. She was like, would you mind coming in here with me? And I was like, no. So I went in there with her and experienced it. And then, once I hooked back up with my homegirl, the same homegirl, she was like, guess what? I started pulling these and ordered these. And so it was like literally I was doing this on one end. She was doing this on one end. Other than watching YouTube and watching tarot, that was her own her sole thing. But I got into crystals from what you already was introduced from when I was in Texas, and my ex boss gave me a crystal. And when I got into the when I was driving this chick through Lyft, and I was dropping her off at Phoenix and Dragon. We were talking and chatting because I talked to any and everybody. And she invited me in, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I had told her about the crystal that I got, and I didn't know what it was, and blah, blah, blah. And so, I was amazed when I walked into that store. So I'm like, okay, this is my spot. It resonated with me and all kinds of stuff. So when I came back to my homegirl Key, and I'm like, girl, guess what? And she was like, girl, guess what? And that's how it had been, like throughout the journey after her mom passed away. It was like literally that's how it was. And I said, girl, I don't know where you going. I said, but I'm going with you because I had watched God do a miracle in her life. I watched it. I watched God bring her daughter back to life. I watched it. And I knew God's hands was in that. I knew it. What I didn't know was God was going to have me go in another direction without her. But I didn't know it at the time. But I didn't leave first. She did. They did. Everybody did. They ghosted me, literally, all of them. So, fast forward to a year, and I'm into my crystals and everything. And I bring Kiki to Phoenix and Dragon. Now, I done hit every crystal spot there was in Atlanta. She ordered hers offline. But I knew I needed to touch and feel and sense my crystals. And so when you're on this journey, there are things that you must do. And one of the things is reparations. Reparations to anybody you've done wrong. There's also forgiveness. And as I'm on this journey, there were certain things that came to light. And one of the things was narcissist. I didn't even know what that word was. It wasn't on my radar. I learned about narcissism 3 years ago, y'all. This is a cautionary tale that you should pay attention to because there are narcissists. There are outright narcissists and they are undercover narcissists. Outright narcissists, I didn't tolerate. Why? Because I loved me too much. So the moment you decided that you were worth more than me and that I was indispensable and that you can do me and treat me any kind of way and talk to me any old kind of way, then it was donezo for you. I didn't know people could be undercover narcissists. And I recognized that Michael was a narcissist. Mind you, I still hadn't, during this time, nothing about black magic, nothing. The dam hadn't broke yet. But I did recognize that he was a narcissist. So at this time, I'm watching tarot, but I can't say that anything is resonating. I'm watching it and I'm listening, but nothing quite fit at the moment. And I'm just watching. And I'm still learning though. And I think during this time, I was more focused on myself like, okay, my hurt, my pain. But I got the notion after Key told me that she called this guy that she was dating or messing around with at the time just to forgive him for the things that he did, but also to know and to let herself know that she had moved past it, right? And so when I got the thought to do that with Michael, I asked her. Now, mind you, I think at this time my intuition started kicking in about people, places, and things. And during this time, I was watching tarot, and the only person I had in mind was Michael. And so there, Tarot Land, oh, I love y'all so much. Tarot Land was talking about Michael and I's relationship or lack thereof, and how he manipulated this, and he was a narcissist, and this, that, and the third. And so at this time, I got the feeling, the notion, mind you, I hadn't talked to Michael in a year, not since we had sex and he ghosted me again. And so the last thing I had said to Michael was, I couldn't trust you with my heart. I couldn't trust you with my heart. And so on this journey, we learn to accept our roles in how things happen to us and for us. And I say that because in the beginning, you'll think they're happening to you, but it's actually for you. So as I'm on this journey, I'm learning where I played a role at in everything that has happened for me. And I recognize that by me saying that to him, it was like I just put the blame on him, right? This is what I'm thinking. So I had the thought, the notion, the intuition. Thank you, my ancestors and my spiritual guides, to call him just to see how he was doing, right? And I wanted to see if he was remorseful because he literally set me up. The day I talked to him on the phone for hours in front of Lakita on, I literally had the phone on speaker and we were talking and he was talking about going away and traveling the United States for, months, just visiting all 50 states. And he wanted to have a baby, which is what I've always wanted, right? But the moment I gave in, he ghosted me. And she was there to witness it, right? So fast forward to a year later, and I say to her, I say, I'm going to call him. And she suggested that I don't do that. But in my mind's eye, I was like, well, I didn't say it out loud, but I'm thinking to myself, well, you just called your homeboy. So why would I not call him? Anyway, I went against what she said and went with my own intuition. And I called him. Y'all. Mm-mm-mm. So I called him and actually I text him and he didn't respond. And I'm out driving Lyft. And so I call him and he answers the phone. And I was like, hey. how you doing? Blah blah blah. I was like, no, long time no speak. I hadn't talked to you in a minute. Blah blah blah. Mind you, key point is that we were friends on Facebook, and every story I put up, this brother watched it. There was not a story that he did not see. So for this whole entire year, I hadn't seen him, but he was watching my stories faithfully, and I knew it. I knew it because Facebook stories. It tells you who's seen your story. It tells you. So when I call him, I'm like, you know, I hope all is well. How you doing? Oh, he's fine. Blah blah blah. And so I say, you know what? I know we hadn't talked in a minute, and I definitely want to apologize about the last time I talked to you because I put all the ownership on you. And I know what I said to you was unfair and blah, blah, blah. This dude, and y'all know what I want to say, this said, I thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for saying that. And I'm like, this mother, hmm, I'm waiting for my apology. I didn't get one. Okay, so I hit him with I know you watch me. And he was like, what do you mean by that? And I said, I know you watch my stories. And I started laughing. And he lied to me. He lied. But before then, let me backtrack just a smidgen. So before I got to that part, I asked him. So we was chatting or whatever. And I asked him and I said, how you out there doing with the virus or whatever? And he was like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, do you wear a mask? And he said, no, I go against the grain. I'm a rebel. So I don't really wear a mask. And instantly, y'all, I knew he was lying. I felt it in my gut. I knew it in my spirit that he was lying. So that's when I hit him with, I know you watch my stories. And he lied again. He lied again. I'm talking about lied. So I had to hit him with, when you watch stories, it tell you who watch it. This man said, can you hold on for a second? Let me call you back. I cracked up in the car. I laughed so hard in the car, y'all. I laughed, I laughed, I laughed, I laughed, I laughed. Because God has shown me him. My honorable ancestors and my spiritual guides was like, boom, put the hammer down. After I got off the phone with him, I blocked his number and I unfriended him on Facebook. And Tarot Land, all hell broke loose. When I went back and watched Tarot, y'all was on fire. Y'all was on fire. Y'all was on fire. Tarot Land, y'all was on fire. Let me give y'all two snaps and in a circle, y'all was on fire. The energies changed. And that's when I saw the first shift in the energy from an action that I had taken. And the dialogue went different. In the beginning, it was just calm and it was like, you need to do this, you need to do that. But after that, every reader I watched, and I watched a lot of y'all, I watched a lot of y'all. Every reader I watched was like, what the hell done happened? What the hell going on? Oh my God, the energy done shifted. Oh my God, the spirit world is going crazy. Oh my God, it was a lot. And then I recognized why. Because he was an undercover narcissist with no heart, no feelings, no emotions. He was literally the walking devil. And he thought that by ghosting me and coming back to me and then impregnating me, he was going to have a seat at my table. But my honorable ancestors and my spiritual guides was like, hell to the na 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 na. My spiritual guides was like, boo, open your eyes and see what's happening. Y'all, from that moment on, it was like, boom. But there was still something else going on. It was still something else going on that I wasn't aware of. And I didn't know that I was sleeping next to the enemy. And I'm talking about my homegirl. Because, mind you, as I'm spiritually awakening, she had gotten into tarot cards and all that stuff. And I would use her tarot cards. And I was very gifted and intuitive to the point that she wanted me to read for her auntie. She wanted me to read for her nieces and nephews. And I did. And I didn't know their life. But when I read the cards, I read their energy. And as I'm reading and I'm discovering my gifts, because, we're all on this together, is what I thought. And so I'm sitting on the bed and I'm noticing my body and I'm noticing tingling sensations and all kinds of stuff. And because we're homegirls, I am speaking these things out loud. I'm like, girl, I feel this, I feel that. Not taking notice or anything, that she's not saying much of nothing, that she's just absorbing the information, right? So after I nixed Michael, Tarot Land is still on fire for a little bit. And I watched this one tarot reader where her energy shifted. I'm talking about it shifted so drastic that I felt her energy, like I got scared instantly. Because one minute it was all like, it wasn't, gumballs and raindrops and rainbows, but it shifted so serious to the point where she was like, they're trying to kill you. They've tried several times. And I'm like, what? And I'm watching her chat, and the people in there are confused, but I'm not confused. The people are like, oh, she just got so dark. Oh, this. And I'm like, oh my God, who is trying to kill me? And all this time, I'm still thinking it's Michael. But he's too stubborn and too prideful to come to me. For one, because he knows I know everything about him, because my intuition and my psychic abilities kick in. And because he knows I know. Because I watched this man go to seminary school. And when I asked him, was he going to be a preacher? He told me no, it didn't have anything to do with that. So he was using religion to manipulate me. He was. He went to seminary school so he can manipulate people. He is a very undercover narcissist. The epitome. You wouldn't even think it because he was quiet. You wouldn't even think it. You wouldn't even think it, y'all. You wouldn't. This man was so unassuming. You wouldn't even. He would have been the least one that you would have thought of was a narcissist. But what I didn't realize was that there was still another one in my midst, and it was a coven of bad witches, of bad ones. So as I'm discovering myself, and as the dam broke about Michael, they're still talking about people trying to kill me. Now, mind you, people can kill you energetically. They can. They can manipulate your energy, your emotions, hydromancy. They can do all of that stuff without even being close to you or in your proximity, right? And I would have never thought it was her. I never would have thought it. But Towerland told on her too. But understand, and overstand. They really didn't tell on anybody. They just confirmed what I was feeling. But because I was under black magic, and because I was raised by a narcissist and indoctrinated to not remember or ignore my feelings and my emotions, I didn't even want to believe it was her, but it was her. It was her. Tara Lamb told on her, but she told on herself first because she ghosted me. We had been on this journey together, and she ghosted me. She tried to take my spiritual gifts. She tried to take my spiritual abundance. But what she didn't realize was that astrology plays a major part in our spiritual journeys. And she didn't know her chart. She didn't know her chart. I didn't know mine either. But we read, like, we pulled up our charts in front of each other and we read our charts together. But I wasn't reading my chart. Like, I was like, oh, okay, yep, that's me. That's how I was reading it. That's how I was paying attention to it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, yeah, that's what I do. Oh, yeah, okay, I got to work on that part, blah, 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 right? And when we read her chart, her natal chart, I'll get it. Go ahead. And when we read her natal chart, our charts were similar. We had similar placements. Like, it was uncanny. That's why I said that we were twins. Oh, girl, we twins. And I used to say this all the time. Girl, we twins. It's like you grew up on that side of the block and I grew up on that side of the block. And we wound up intersecting and meeting at one point. That's what I used to say to her because I really thought this was my sister girl. I really thought that she was my sister. I did. Until she left me high and dry. She ghosted me too. She ghosted me. It was, and then everybody in her family switched up on me. I watched it, I peeped it. My feelings was hurt. I even mentioned it to her. Is there anything that I did to you? Anything? And she was like, no, I just want to have my own thoughts. And in the beginning, we were plotting and planning, doing things together. Um, it's crazy because the Karmic Michael had told me that I should do a YouTube channel back when I was in my 20s. And I was like, what would I talk about? I don't know what to talk about. Blah, 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 blah. I don't even know why he wanted me to because he didn't want me to succeed. He was still in my spiritual gifts too. So when I said I was like, I'm like, I'm gonna do a YouTube channel. And I was telling her, girl, I can't wait to have you on my YouTube channel and we could talk about this and we could talk about that. This was me plotting and planning my future, and then I'm including because I am loyal to the people I love. So, hey, yellow butterfly. And as I'm talking, there's an X that was just made in the sky. There have been X's all day today in the sky. Let me see if I can show y'all. I'm getting behind you. Yeah. Let me see. Let me show you guys. Can you see the X's? I don't know if you can. That's the sun. But look to see if you can see the X's, y'all. They're all over the sky, right? They were all there yesterday too. And so I'm plotting and planning and I'm talking to her daughter and I'm like, oh, girl, you can come on my channel. And I'm encouraging her to start her channel because she has a story that can help people because she's overcome a lot. And I'm just pouring and feeding into these people. I'm pouring and feeding, pouring and feeding. And me and her daughter had a good relationship. We like bounced ideas off each other. We talked about the coronavirus and masks, which we were both like, we ain't wearing no masks, we ain't taking no vaccines. Um, when she wanted an article to be read, she sent it to me. Like, literally, everything was good. And then all of a sudden, something changed, something shifted, not within me, but within my homegirl at the time. And then I sensed a change in her daughter. And then I sensed a change in her old man. And then I sensed a change in her brothers. That was the last of it. But she ghosted me. She ghosted me. And I cried and I asked her, is there anything that I did, anything that I could? And she was like, no, I just want to do her do her thing by herself, is what she said. But mind you, throughout this whole journey, when we were watching videos together and we're learning about spirituality and we're learning about them and us, I was like, girl, we can't fool with them people, because she was going through something at the time with her sister-in-law who had betrayed her. She had gone through the same thing that I went through with everybody in my family. And she went through it with her sister that she never expected to go through with, right? So that's how it was trauma bonded. So when she ghosted me, I was like, okay. But it wasn't a ghost to me. It was like, okay, I just allow her to have her space. It didn't make me feel good. And at the time, I didn't even look at it as ghosting. So I still called and I still, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And so there was a period of time when I hadn't talked to her and I decided to go and visit. This is when I knew what God was saying about who she was. But her chart told about who she was as well. And even when I dove deep into my own chart, I seen her chart in my chart, which lets me know that we were twin flames, because our chart is very similar with just maybe a couple of different placements, literally. And so after she ghosted me, I still continued to come around, and I noticed that her old man didn't speak to me like he did. Her brothers didn't speak to me like they did. But what really made me realize that there was a conversation being had about me and I wasn't around, even though she tried to act as if nothing happened. Get the butterfly. What really made me know that she had said something or done something that was against me was the shift in her daughter. Because both of us, I bought my MacBook and she loved MacBook, her daughter did. And so I let her play on my MacBook. She did all kinds of stuff on my MacBook. And then she finally wound up buying her own. And so we would FaceTime each other. We would, IM messages to each other. And I had IM'd her and she didn't respond back, which was very odd for this young lady. Very odd, very odd. And so on the second to last visit, because by this time I'm still watching tarot and I'm recognizing what they are saying, which had happened to my homegirl. They spoke about it. They spoke about her whole entire life. They spoke about it. They spoke about it. They spoke about everything that I had watched transpired in her life. And so I'm like, okay. So on the second to last visit, I go over there and I am I walk into the house like I always do. Hey y'all, and I realize that, the haze were dry. And so as I'm walking past her daughter's room, she got her head underneath the covers. No, I say, hey girl, but I call her name. And I said, did you get my message? And she said, mm-hmm. I said, why you ain't respond? And she just shrugged her shoulders. But I've been around her and her mother enough to know that her mother has had to have said something. Okay, she was the last of it because her brothers switched up on me. Her old man wasn't as, hey girl, blah, blah, blah. But her daughter, that was the nail in the coffin for me. And so I peeped it. I also know she tried to get me strung out on X pills. I've been a weed smoker since I was 30. That was black magic. I'm not smoking now, though. Just know that. And so during hard times, when my unemployment hadn't kicked in, my homegirl, I had given her money after she had been robbed. And so after that, the bottom fell out for me. And so she wound up giving me money. But she gave me $100 more than I gave her. But we always smoked weed together. But this one time, instead of giving me weed, she gave me a handful of X pills. Mind you, the last time I took an X pill, I didn't like the way I was responding on it. Okay, so I didn't take it. But again, I'm watching tarot, and she gave me the pills, and I threw them out the window. And I prayed to God about it, and I was like, this ain't gonna work for me. I'm like, now you know I'm a weed smoker. Why would you? And I know she's a weed smoker, so why would you give me pills and not weed? I found that to be very odd. So on the way home, to my sister's house, I threw the pills out. I threw them out the window, and it took one since, right? But the last visit that I got there, I was actually going there, and mind you, I was still kind of in the dark about who she was. I seen the red flags, mind you. The pill thing was a red flag. Her folks, you know, response to me was a red flag. But yet and still, I was still gung ho, and went over there and was telling her about my business, about what I discovered, because Michael tried to get me pregnant. He wanted to get me pregnant so he can have entryway into the new world, all kinds of stuff. And I'm telling her, and I'm like, I ain't having sex with nobody. Mind y'all, I'm celibate going on 4 years. Ain't nothing going in because it scared me to death. Because then I also realized and recognized that what I saw with a dude that I was intimate with, that I talked myself out of not seeing, because I seen him. I seen his spirit. I seen his spirit, but I didn't believe what I saw. I didn't believe what I saw. He was a demon. So I literally had sex with a demon. A lot of us have sex with demons and we just don't even know about it because we are not in tune with the spiritual world. We're not. And so during my celibacy, all this was coming to play. All this was coming out. All this was coming into my consciousness and everything. So I'm mourning, I'm crying, I'm mad, I'm ashamed, I'm all kinds of things. So on the last visit, literally the last visit to her house, I go and I'm telling her about what I discovered. I was like, girl, he was trying to get me pregnant and all kinds of stuff, but what I learned through tarot. And that's when black magic started to come into play because I realized, recognized, entered over, and understood that he was doing black magic on me to keep me stuck and bound to him. And so I'm telling her this. I'm telling her this because at this time and point, I was believing he was my twin flame. Okay, mind you, all this came into play. In the beginning, there was no twin flame journeys, nothing, none of this stuff. But then my guides and my ancestors led me to the twin flame journey channels, and I watched them and got an understanding, understanding, overstanding about them. And so I'm telling her all of this stuff, and I'm watching her, and then I'm also telling her about a love interest that I had come across and how he was reading me. This man was literally reading me, y'all. He knew what I wanted, and he didn't come out and directly say it to me. He said it out in the open. Because at the time I was training underneath him. And so his conversations to everybody seemed to be specifically targeted to me. So I'm telling her this, and I'm all excited. I'm telling her, we're communicating telepathically and all kinds of stuff because I'm getting into my spiritual gifts, not knowing that it was actually her that was doing all this. So y'all tell me whether or not I'm wrong or right, because your twin flame is as if you guys were one and the flame was split in half, right? So the same gifts I had, she had. But the one thing I do know is that divine feminines are very special. Divine feminines, again, and I'm going to touch in on that, are very special. And so, as I'm telling her about him, I'm telling her about a tarot reader that I had just found and what she had been saying about black magic and about watch yourself because they're going crazy because you're withdrawing your energy and they want you back and all kinds of stuff. And I had to go somewhere, but I told my homegirl that I would come back and that we could watch the video. Hey, yellow butterfly. And that we could watch the video of the girl that I was talking about. Because I was super excited. You know, I'm about to find a new love and all kinds of stuff. And I'm coming into my own, and I am sharing it with the person that did not have my best interest at heart. I still didn't believe what God was trying to show me because I was ignoring the red flags, right? So I come back. Now, when I came that first time, nobody halfway spoke, and I didn't speak to nobody. If her family didn't speak to me, I didn't speak to them. So when I came back, everybody spoke. So I said, hey. But instead of watching the video of what I said we was gonna watch and what she agreed to watch, she was like, I want to show you something. She was like, I be watching these videos. And I'm sitting in my head thinking, okay, well, blah blah blah. But the video she put on was about women who are bisexual. Okay. And every video that I watched with her was about bisexuality, about women, girl action, girl action, right? And she was like, we can watch your video after these. And I said, no, girl, do what you gonna do. I peeped it and recognized that you didn't want to watch it when I came in the door. But it was kind of odd because we've never watched, and I've watched tons of videos. Listen, I met her 10 some odd years ago, and we spent numerous times in her bed watching shows. I've slept in the bed with her, no touching, none of that stuff. I have nothing. When I say nothing, I have nothing against the LGBTQ community at all. But I'm not bisexual, nor am I gay, nor am, nor do I have a fondness for women in a sexual manner. I can appreciate women. I can look at a woman and be like, damn, her ass fat. Damn, she fine as hell. Beauty is beauty because I can look at a man and say the same thing. But there's no sexuality when it comes to a woman. It's not, oh, I want to kiss her, I want to touch her. Oh, she's beautiful. With a man, oh, look at that walk. Dang, I wonder what's. So it was kind of odd and weird that she decided to watch that. And we watched, I think, two or three different sets of gay people. I want to say it was two. And so I left that house knowing that I would never go back because she was not for me. Mind you, I had been watching tarot. And so I picked up on her energy through tarot and watched it manifest in reality. So, this next part that I'm going to say and discuss, it may be a little touchy for some, but again, this is my story and my experience and my discernment. Because divine feminines are and will always be gender specific. There is, gender does matter. And I know that may be taboo for some to hear or for me to say, but it is the truth. Gender does matter. Divine feminine, high priestess, empress, it does matter. And in my experience, dealing with the karmics that I have dealt with, they were bisexual. They did. What I have come to know, feel, enter over, and understand is that when it comes to God and spirituality and your ancestors and your spiritual guides, sexual transgressions matter. They do. And I can tell you emphatically, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I've never kissed a girl, never touched a girl, never had sex with a girl. I've never sold my body for money. Never have. Those things matter when it comes to the title of high priestess, when it comes to the title of an empress, when it comes to the title of a divine feminine. Those two things matter. You may not want to believe me, but they do. They do. This is no shade against transgenders. This is no shade against the gay community at all. But in my dealings with the people in my life and what transpired after my spiritual awakening, they did not get the spiritual abundance because they sold their body for sex at some point in time and because they were gay, which means there's a third party involved. Okay. They tried to have me be the third party. Actually, all the men in my life tried to, except for a couple. No, sad to say, but I thank them. I definitely thank all my karmics. I do. I definitely thank the fake twin flame. I definitely do because they allowed me to find myself. But gender does matter. And I say all that to say, even at the height of this whole thing with Dave Chappelle and his whole Unforgiven, I think is the name of it, or The Closer. That was the name of it, The Closer. The Closer. And this is not putting anybody's business out there. This is just the facts of what transpired in my life. And most of the people that I hung out with were open to me about their sexuality, and I didn't have nothing to say about it. Like, it's not my business. There was no judgment. So what I'm saying now is not judgment. This is just the facts on how my story transpired, how it came to be. If it didn't happen that way, I wouldn't even be talking about it. But it did happen that way. And she sealed it when she tried to show me bisexual women. Yeah. And after getting deeper into my chart, I realized that she tried to switch our destinies. But you can't. It's not possible. You can't trade your crappy destiny for a divine being's destiny. God will not allow it. Now, had I not adhered to my own intuition and broken free and stayed attached to those people, then I could have taken on their karma. That I could have. But that wouldn't have been them doing it. That would have been me because I made a conscious decision to be around people and to entertain people that didn't have my best interests at heart, that I wasn't evenly yoked with. And mind you, everybody in my life that I considered a friend, I would have to say I was unevenly yoked with them because there were things that they did in their life that I didn't agree with, but it wasn't my job to judge them. I accepted them for who they were. Just because they did it didn't mean that I had to do it. That's how I looked at it. And when people used to say birds of a feather flock together, I used to be like, hell nah, we don't. That's not a good saying, but it is in spirituality. So everything that I experienced over the last 20 years was because of the people that I had surrounding me. Mind you, I did make that decision. But by the time my Saturn return was over with, all that should have stopped. But the people that I had around me that knew what their fate would be going into this new world order, they tried to stop their fate and switch positions, and it just didn't work. Thank God. Oh, thank God. I will forever be indebted to God and my spiritual ancestors and my spiritual guides. I really will. Mind you, I grew up knowing about God and Jesus, but all hell didn't break loose until I called on my ancestors. And I remember my trainer saying, I forget how it went, but I was like, I'm praying. He was like, who you praying to? And I said, anybody who will listen. That was of the light. Anybody who will listen. And my ancestors listened. That's a whole nother story when I heard my dad's voice. Now, I'll get into that. But this is just to close the chapter on my past because from here on out, I am speaking of nothing but abundance of life, of goodness, and of blessings. That's it. I love them and I still love them, but I do know, enter, over, and understand that there can be no place in my life for them. There can't be. Just like I was speaking it to her when I thought it was her and I, and she was part of, the us. And I'm like, girl, we can't talk to them no more. We can't even help them. The same goes for everybody in my past. Unless God tells me to, I can't help. I've helped everybody in my life enough at this point. And at the point that I'm in now, when I am looking for support and looking for my spiritual tribe, surrounded by my family who are not wanting to help, I do know once I come up out of this, we all need help. We all need each other. We do. But I need the people that want to see me succeed and help me to succeed around me, and not those that want to bring me down, not those that want to hold me down, not those that don't want me to lead them because I am their narcissistic supply. Mind you, we're twins. And so when she asked me if I felt like I had, narcissistic traits or if I was a narcissist, I was very honest because I had to be honest with myself. If you're raised by a narcissist, you are going to have some narcissistic traits. It's just how they're going to present themselves. And so I admitted that because the narcissist likes to control the people around them by manipulation and things like that. I definitely tried to control the people around me, but not way of manipulating, but because I knew what was right and what was wrong, and I wanted them to do what was best for them. And so it came out harsh sometimes because my mouth is fire, but I never did it maliciously. My intent was always pure, always. I want the best. I wanted the best. But she never admitted that herself. She didn't, right? So here I am, solo dolo, and all the better for it. On this journey, we must learn. I just seen a car drive in, stop, look down here, come like they were coming down, and then make a U turn and leave. That was rather weird, right? This is no love lost on my end. And I've watched a lot of tarot readers and people in general, and they're like, F them, bump them. I watched one tarot reader, and it is hilarious how she talks about her karmics. And I get it, I feel the same way. But it still doesn't take away from that I love them. And once I love you, there's no not loving you. That's crazy because then I never loved you in the first place, right? Right. But I know better now. And so I'm just going to move on and go on about my life and my business, wishing no one no harm. None. I watched her create jars for black magic. Understand, and overstand. Even if you are not consciously aware of it, gossiping is black magic, all that. But I watched all the red flags. I watched all the red flags, and they all came to play. Her aunt came back to me and tried to Jedi mind trick me. And when I brought it up to her, she didn't even respond. She didn't have nothing to say. And I was so curious as to why her aunt would even think that. I've never had a conversation with this lady one on one. I've never really told her my business or anything like that. So for this lady to say these types of things to me, it was like, okay, well, where did she get this from? Where did she get this from? So when I mentioned it to Key and she didn't respond about it, I said, oh, okay. I knew she got it from you, though. Y'all had to have had a conversation for her to feel like she could say that. And mind you, when her aunt first came into play, you know, her aunt was a first lady at a church and all kinds of stuff. And so I thought this was a spiritual advisor. I really did. I really did. Even though there was some things a little off about her as well. She came and spoke tongues because she told me I was burdened. And at the time, I didn't know what burdens meant. And she spoke tongues in my ear. She touched my back. And she broke that burdenness in me. Or maybe God did. I don't know. But when she turned on me, her aunt did too. She even sent me a text saying some hurtful things. And when I asked her niece about it, she she didn't say anything. She didn't respond. Not at all. Which was shocking and perplexing all at the same time, right? But during this time, I questioned everything. I questioned the what, the when, the why, the hows, the where. I questioned it. And I recognized that it was manipulation again, trying to get me to feel as if I was what she was saying when I knew wholeheartedly that the things that she said was not me. All that ties in. All of it ties in. God showed me them. But understand, and overstand, they ghosted me first. So all I did was return the favor. And so for 9 months, I hadn't talked to her. Mind you, for 9 months, my videos on YouTube, for 9 months, I was still posting on Instagram. I was still visible. I was still visible. And so a month ago, I decided to go incognito. It wasn't by choice though. It was really by force because it's on my phone anymore. And so I took that time to just I still recorded, I just couldn't post. So after this video is closing the past stuff. Posting, they were gonna be pre this video. So if we speak about the past, understand, overstand, and understand, that is because they was recorded prior to this video being loaded, me going live. So fast forward to a month ago. 9 months ago, after I left her house, 7 months, however long it's been, about seven, I think. After I left her house, no, I think it was nine. I don't. After I left her house, I didn't go back over there, and we didn't talk on the phone. We didn't text. We didn't Marco Polo. We didn't do anything. And so, with my phone going down, I didn't have access to my phone number, Marco Polo, or anything. And I got a text. I got a in IM message. I had been offline for a whole month. I got, let me reverse. So as I'm growing and as I'm becoming more in tune with myself, my spiritual gifts are growing. And so I started dreaming again. And I had this dream where I heard my name called real loud and forceful, and I wrote about it. I started journaling my dreams. And I woke up and I wrote about it. And I heard my name, and it was like, Danielle. It was my whole name. It wasn't Dan, it wasn't Danny, it was Danielle. And I woke up and wrote about it because it was as if the person who, it wasn't me, but it was as if the person in my dream was scared. And it was a forceful, like they said my name very forcefully, but it was a scared forceful. And I didn't know what it meant, but I knew God would show me what it meant. And not even 2 or 3 days later, I get a message from Homegirl, as if 9 months hadn't passed, or however long it's been, as if she hadn't ghosted me, as if her family hadn't turned on me, as if she was not imitating me. Now, mind you, I watched all this. I watched her try and imitate how I call my cat when I'm like, I watched her do that. Then what the kicker was when she started her own YouTube channel dancing on my first YouTube channel. And she acted as if she hadn't seen it or she didn't watch it. So when I created my second YouTube channel and I started posting videos, mind you, when she did her videos, I was so supportive and everything. But I sent my first dance, I sent the dance video to her first. And then shortly after that she started her YouTube channel. Okay? Then and I was supportive. Didn't say anything, but I was supportive. And when I started this YouTube channel, I didn't send it to her. I didn't send it to anybody because this was something personal that I was doing for myself. But I recognized I started having one or two people watch, and they were consistent. Every time I put a video up, it was one or two. So then I went back to her channel and I recognized that she was copying me, but saying it in her own ways. And the kicker was when I said there was a video where I was like, this impromptu, it ain't always gonna be about this. And then her next video was like the same thing. So I peeped it. So then now it was time for me to catch her in a lie and for her to recognize that I knew who she was. And so I questioned her because I had sent her my video to watch. And her immediate response was, I'm not on social media. Um, and so I sent her, this was the first dance video. I sent it to her and I said, hey, and I said, I just did a video, watch my video. And she was like, I'm not on messaging or whatever, whatever. I'm not on social media. And I said, okay, well, when you do get on there, let me know and watch my video. So hindsight 2020, after I recognized who she was through tarot and through my own intuition and stopped ignoring the red flags, I sent her a text message like, hey, you never told me what you thought about my video. She said, what video, girl? And I said, the dance video. And she was like, oh, well, let me see. My video is 6 minutes long, y'all. This girl texted me back within 2 or 3 minutes and was like, oh, that's nice and blah, blah, blah. But I knew you watched it when I first sent it to you. I knew you did. And you didn't even watch the whole video all the way through if you text me back 3 minutes saying, oh, but you had already watched it. So your response was from the first time you watched it. I know you didn't even go back and watch it. That was just a direct message because I know she watched my channel. And still, there is no love lost. I don't wish you no harm. But what I do know and what I feel, but above all else, my ancestors and God don't play about me. My natal chart says that. I am a spiritual trap. So all the trials and tribulations that I have experienced in my life, very hurtful, especially because I lived with an open heart my whole life. It's only now that I'm discerning on who gets access to my heart. But every time I met someone, they had access to it. I lived free. I did. I lived free. But this journey has taught me other. So it was like now I use discernment. I make sure that before I give my heart to anybody, that they are deserving and worthy. You hear what I'm saying? deserving, and worthy. I'm just going over my notes to see if I touched everything. Yeah, for 20 years, they had me in a narcissistic spider web. A narcissistic spider web looks like your mama, your brother, your sister, your cousins, your auntie, your uncles, your friends, their family that make everything your fault. You are the blame for everything going wrong. You are the blame. You are the reason why things happen the way they do. That is what a narcissistic spider web looks like. That means you have people that are around you that are non supportive. Okay? That means damn near everybody. If you are trapped in a narcissistic spider web, no one around you that you think is going to support you is going to support you. Know that. No one. No one. No one. They are not meant to. They are meant to teach you a lesson, and that lesson is to trust and love yourself and to depend on God and your honorable ancestors and your spirit guides. That is it. And God will bring those people that mean you good, that love you unconditionally. The people I had around me loved me conditionally. I know that for a fact. Because the moment I withdrew my energy, they were mad about it. But you wasn't doing nothing for me in the beginning, but I was doing everything. I did everything for everybody. If I was capable of doing it and if I was capable of giving it and feeding and pouring into you, that's what I did. I did that because I want us all to win. I did. I didn't hold back information because I didn't want nobody to win. I didn't hide information. I didn't do any of that. I let it be known because what I knew and what I understood and understood and overstood was that my path is my path, your path is your path. We do not digest information the same, but we can feed off of each other. We can be the teacher and the student together. And I thought I had people around me that was for me, and they were not for me. And so after a month of being off all social media platforms, every last one of them, my two Instagram accounts, my YouTube account, my Twitter account, and my Facebook. I shut down Facebook. And I have since shut down my personal Instagram account. I shut it down. I deleted it because it was a bunch of karmics on there. That's why I deleted my Facebook because it was a bunch of karmics. Instagram, I tried to get rid of them as much as possible, but I was like, F it. I'm just going to delete the whole page. And I started another one underneath Spiritually Savage. So take a look. Take a look. Um, there's two pages that say that. The first one I can't get back into it. So that is me. That was my page, but I had to start another one. So just know. And on the second one, I haven't posted anything yet because I wanted to clear my slate. I wanted to, my baby trying to get in the house. I'm about to go open it up for him. Look at him. You want to get in? Hey, my baby. Hey, my baby. I see there's a delay. I don't know why, but there's a delay. Maybe my laptop is overheating. Could be. I'm about to end it in a minute. But after a year, after a month of not being on any platforms, mind you, Tarot Land was like, oh, they doing black magic on you and they trying to see if it worked. But I probably would not have gone ghost if my phone hadn't just stopped working, right? So after a month of not being on any social media, I get a text message. But it was directly right after I had that dream about someone calling my name out. And what I know, it's because, and I know it was her in my dream, even though, and I knew it was a woman in my dream. I knew it was a woman, but there was no face. It was just like a silhouette and the voice. But right after I had that dream, and I had had several prior to that, I got that message from her. But I was still in my hermit mode, so I ignored it intentionally for a whole nother 4 weeks, for a whole nother month. And then I responded back. Her message was checking on me because she said God told her. But again, if you go look at my other videos, I'll tell you everybody's awakening is not to God. Because once you come against a divine being and you fail to deliver the divine being, then whoever you were supposed to deliver the divine being to wants payment, regardless. But what I know now and what I understand is that my ancestors was on top of her head. I had had this dream. No, I was doing a meditation. And I did a meditation where I repaired the relationship between my biological father and myself through meditation. And it wasn't intentional. And I shared that dream with her and her auntie. And the sheer look on their faces was just fear. It was scared. And I don't know if they were, at the time, I thought it was because I did something wrong, that they were scared like I was. Because an aunt came over one time and was like, the spirit brought her over here, and that God brought her over here, and there was devil, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff was going on. And so I was like, okay, am I the devil God? Am I? No, I wasn't. Because one of the times I spent the night at her house, I slept in the living room and she slept in her room with her man. We both dreamt that night, except for my dream was fun and all kinds. But prior to this, mind you, Spirit revealed it to me. My ancestors revealed it to me. And Tarot literally confirmed it because I watched all this happen before Tarot confirmed it. Tarot didn't tell me this. Tarot didn't, you know, hit me to the game and then I peeped it. No, I watched it happen. And then when I even went back a year or two to watch tarot videos, they confirmed what happened to her. And it was my ancestors that literally were sitting on top of her head. And I don't know why. Because in this world, in this 3D, she ghosted me. That's about it. She may have talked shit about me, which I know she did because there was another red flag was one of her homegirls, men, husband, wanted to friend me on Facebook, which is very odd because I had been over to their house several times for picnics and parties and everything. And this man has never friended me on Facebook. So now, why are you friending me? And so I asked Key, I said, I got a friend request from, old girl's man. And because I don't know anything about them as far as if they've done anything, I'm not mentioning their names. And she was like, oh, I don't know. But I knew because you had said something to this girl about what was supposed to don't have anything to do with me. It really doesn't. But I thought it was kind of odd. I thought it was kind of odd. And I mentioned it. Everything that I thought was odd and that I felt some kind of way about, I didn't hide it. I asked her. And each time she did not tell me the truth. So when she first started having dreams where she was, and I don't even think she realized she was dreaming, but her old man had recorded her making sounds and grunts and noises, and she let me listen to it. And I did see a little video of one. What I now know is that it's because of the dream world, it's because of the spiritual world. As above, so below. You can't get away with nothing down here. You can't. God is always watching. Our ancestors are always watching. Our spiritual guides are always watching. And when you unjustly vilify a person, it doesn't have to even be a divine being, but especially if it's a divine being, but it doesn't have to be. You will reap karma for that. Karma is real. And before I was even on this spiritual journey, I knew karma was real. I knew I didn't want to do to anybody what I didn't want done to myself. Treat people as you want to be treated. And I remember in the video where I said, that's a lie. It's not a lie, it's the truth. It's just a lie when you're dealing with people who have no heart or whose heart who has been damaged or who don't have a connection to source. And I say all that to say there is no love lost. But I have got to love people from afar that have tried me, that have manipulated me, that have tried to bamboozle me, that have treated me as if I was insignificant, that did not love me unconditionally, that chose to try and steal my spiritual gifts and my spiritual abundance and my thoughts and my ideas and my mannerisms. I can't fool with you on no planet. Not this planet, not in the spiritual realm, not nowhere. I really can't because it's a detriment to me. It takes away from me as a person, and I can't have that. I've had a reprobate mind. I no longer want that, and I'm not going back there again, ever, ever. And if I have got to save myself to do that, then I will. So, as much as I want everybody to win, I'm recognizing that everybody can't win. There has to be some losers. There has to be, because everybody can't go with you. And I was trying to take everybody that was in my family, everybody that I knew, all my friends and everything, and y'all, let me look you in your face. Literally, everybody. There's a delay. So I hope me to clear my energetic field to get rid of all the Seans, the Marks, the Michaels, the Marcos that I dealt with in that lower vibrational state in black magic. I will never go against me again. I will never go against my heart again. I will never go against God again. I will never go against my ancestors and spiritual guides again because that gets you into hot water. It does. You have to honor yourself. You have to honor yourself, your emotions. And if you're not getting any emotional satisfaction, if you're not getting any support or anything, then you got to stop giving to it. You got to stop feeding it. You got to stop pouring into it. Stop casting your pearls to swine because they're envious of it. They're jealous of it, of your spiritual gifts, of your spiritual abundance. And so, with that being said, I'm about to end this video. I'm sending nothing but love and light to each and every one of you guys who are experiencing any of the things that I have just said, any of the situations and scenarios. And trust me, there are a lot more. I have 20 years of it. 20 years, y'all. 20 years. To me, your Saturn return is when the devil has his way. When the Bible says, ask the devil what he was doing, and he said walking to and fro on the earth, I think that is what our Saturn return is. I believe so. It's when you're dealing with opposition and obstacles and you have a decision to make whether or not you're going to go towards the light or you're going to go towards the darkness and succumb to what's going on around you. But mine lasted for an additional time span that should not have because of hydromancy, because of black magic, because of vampirism, and all that stuff. There's a lot more I'm going to say about the gender that matters and spirituality because it does tie into each other. It really does. But before I do, I need to gain some more insight into it. And I've written a lot of books. I have. I've written a lot, not books per se, but journals throughout this whole time frame. Like in 1 month, I think I went through 2 journals because it was all a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot for my mind to adjust. She wasn't supposed to ghost me. We were supposed to work together. But what I do know is that when you mess with a divine being, you activate something within yourself to your own detriment, to your own downfall. I will never do black magic on anybody. I will never wish harm on anybody. Ever. That has never been a part of my makeup. I let things fall as they may. And I had on my birthday a guy that I used to date named Mark. People recognize who you are spiritually, even if you don't. And he know. And it's crazy though, because my life dictated what my chart confirmed is that if you do me wrong and it's unjust, you're going to reap karma for that. And most of the time it's instantaneous. I had 2 guys go to jail after they did me wrong, and one of them thought that I had a hand in it, like I set them up. Dude, you dipped on me like a whole year ago. How would I know when you were coming back into town? That wasn't me, that was God and my ancestors. That didn't have nothing to do with me. And the same thing goes for the last 2 people. She was the last one that I had to get rid of. And so now Tarot World it's about me. It's about what am I going to do? Am I going to stay stuck in a situation? Am I going to stay bound to people that don't care for me? And the answer is no. I'm not. I'm not. I refuse to. because I want to be loved. I deserve to be loved unconditionally, the way God loves me. I deserve that type of love. The way I am relearning to love myself, I deserve that type of love. The way I learned to love my lucky bug, I deserve that type of love. I don't deserve to be ass out and to be bound to people that don't care about whether or not I eat, whether or not I have soap to wash my ass, or whether or not I have soap to wash my clothes, or whether or not I have anything, whether or not I'm okay. No, the same amount of energy that I give to someone, I deserve that same amount back, and I wasn't getting it with the people that I was around. So as of today, October the 14th, what time is it? I'm about to end this. 122. Listen, synchronistic for your behind. It is 122 and I'm finna end this. I love you guys. I will be back. I'm going to upload the rest of my videos um as soon as I figure out how, because you know the devil will try and stop you. But I'm glad I was able to go live so I can get this out and not have to um um worry about my past because it's no longer a factor. Today is the beginning of my brand new life. I no longer have to speak on these things. I don't. I don't even wish to. Like Tiana Taylor say, if it ain't about blessings, I don't even address it. And up until now, my whole channel has been addressing black magic, addressing hurt, pain, discouragement, all kinds of things. But I'm no longer in that space no more. And so that's it. That's it. I thank you guys for joining me. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Let me see. Let me go on my notes, y'all. I had a whole page full of notes, front and back. So let me see. Um, I put. Let me just read y'all what I wrote. Have fun. God showed me the red flags while I was confused. Gender does matter. My twin flame is bisexual. Spiritual gifts, black magic, they left me first. Humble beginnings, introduction, background, thank God, ancestors and karmics, tarot, YouTube, narcissists, spider web. Listen, I put names because I'm recalling back my energy. I'm recalling back my energy. That's it. It's a done battle. I put she tried to stop you, he tried to stop you, they tried to stop you. Narcissist spiderweb. What else I put? No forgiveness, different perspective. 20 years black magic. This live is to finally close the door to my past and recall back all my energy. I can always, there are exceptions, forgive, but I don't have to deal with you at all. Period. I put period too. I did. I am a pure hearted person. This is a cautionary tale and a triumphant one. What a narcissistic spider web looks like. So I think I covered all the bases, y'all. You can see my background. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, there's an X over there. Can y'all see it? Can you see it? Let me see. There's an X right there, but look behind me, y'all. Can y'all see there? I can't see because it's a glare,